discovery that I made about what David Strait predicted. And, this is like pretty much devastated me all of yesterday. It was one of the more devastating things that happened to me this week, but it's right up there. And it basically David talks about something called the 2,000-day period of awakening.
This is Revelations chapter 12.
Chapter 12. Now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Then being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign appeared in heaven, behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 diadems on his heads. His tail drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven, and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. She bore a male child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and his throne. Then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought. But they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Then I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ have come. For the accuser of our brethren, who accused them before our God day and night, has been cast down. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives to the death. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time. Now when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. So the serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring, who keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
So, the event that starts Revelation chapter 12 was actually recorded by NASA. And it was a recorded event. And that event starts a 2,000-day period of awakening. What happens at the end of the 2,000 days? Anybody know? The people rise up and they tell the governments of the world, you guys have been corrupt for far too long, we're not putting up with it anymore. And that's it. We come out of that at the end of the 2,000 days. Guess what in 4 days happens? We're 4 days from now, we're 730 days into it. That means we got 1,270 days left. By the end of the, by Monday. That's it. It's all the time left we've got to wake everybody else up. Now, not everybody has to wake up.
What David's saying is that on September 23rd, 2020, he's saying in 4 days would be September 27th, 2020. And in those 4 days, it would be 730 days in with the 2,000 day period of awakening. So 730 days in would mean that there's 1,270 days remaining. 1,270 days remaining would mean that it would be 3.4 years from September 27th of 2020. So this September 27th of 2022 would be 730 days minus 1,270. So that would mean that we have 540 days left from September of 2022.
It only takes a small percentage, about 10% of the population. 7 to 10% of the population wakes up and governments will fall. They'll fail. Now, in fact, almost every war we've ever had, there was 3 to 7% participation. 3 to 7. This is supposed to be 10%. What's that? Read the Bible.
This is the depressing part. This September of 2022 means we will still have 540 days left before the Great Awakening, the real Great Awakening. And
historians have proved that everything up to this date has come true already. All those things predicted in the Bible, every one of them, they've recorded, it's proven, it's come true. So how do you argue with that? It's a 2,500-year-old prophecy. One of the things that kind of freaked me out in learning what we're learning is you get a Bible on a search engine, and you type in the word man and person. And 2,500 years ago, 5 authors of books in the Bible distinguished clearly between what it means to be a man and a person.
he said the 2,000-day period of awakening started in September of 2017, which is really interesting because we all know that the Q drops and the Q Mission Project, whatever you want to call it, started in October of 2017. I believe that this is accurate because it really resonates with me a lot based on what I'm seeing. And basically, he was saying that during all times of war, active participants were actually like 3 to 7% of the population, the world population, actually participated in active wars in every war that we ever had. He's saying that this great awakening, this public awakening that's going to happen, which is Revelations 12, by the way, which I want to go through Revelations 12 on my own in depth before I can speak to it. But so basically what he's saying is that after this 2,000-day period, 10% of the population will be awake.
I know the audio in David Strait's video is difficult to hear. I've listened to it a few times, though, and he clearly says in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, that there's 2,000 days and then an awakening. 2,000 days. I have not found 2,000 days anywhere in that chapter. I've found time and times and time and a half. I've found 42 months. I found 1,260 days. I did not find 2,000 days. I don't understand where he's getting the 2,000 days from. I mean, is he misleading his followers on something as simple, maybe not as simple, but as something as Scripture? I mean, is that possible? Could he be even misleading his people when it comes to Scripture? And if that's the case, what else is he misleading people on?